Welcome to a place where the mysterious becomes the unforgettable. This metaphysical journey explores hauntings, UFOs, extraterrestrials, cryptozoology, and everything the paranormal world has to offer. Each week, guests from around the globe share their expertise, experiences, and mind-bending encounters. This is the Paranormal Voice.
And it is Sunday afternoon, and that can only mean one thing. We are in our favorite place to be our favorite hangout. The hour is all yours to do with it as you please. And I'm so grateful you guys are here hanging out with me and tonight's guest. But before I bring this fantastic lady out here, just got to talk about a few things. So, as you will see on the screen in just a second, you will see a QR code. I'm in the way. But anyways, guys, I just love to talk about this. I'm going to be a part of Ascension Con coming up this August 15th out in Hastings Park, Michigan. It's a brand new first ever convention that is happening, and this is something out of the ordinary. We are definitely going to be taking it to a new level with this. Mama Mary and her group out there at Ascension Con are we're going to be having all kinds of amazing speakers, but it's also going to be a weekend where you can come, hang out, and discover yourself. And that's what this is all about, is discovering yourself along with some phenomenal speakers, and I get to be a part of that. So, guys, once again, August 15th, come on down to Hastings Park, Michigan, and you're going to be able to check this out. The speakers portion of it itself is free, so if you just want to come in and hang out and hear all the speakers that day, that is absolutely fantastic. They also have a VIP party happening August 14th. You can purchase tickets over on Mama Mary Sacred Code LLC.com, and you can get all the ticket information about that. So check that out. Also, coming up this October, guys, very blessed to be a part of this. The Blood Moon Parafest #4 happening right there at the Stimson Hospital in Michigan. And guys, go over to XL Network and you can find out all the crazy details about this. This is in October, so I hope to see you guys all there. So that's another amazing thing that I truly honor. I get to be blessed and be a part of. I can't wait to meet everybody out there. So guys, come on down, check that out. But in the meantime, like I said, I have a fantastic guest. I first time I get to meet this lovely lady, but I've seen her on countless interviews herself. Also follow her over on her YouTube channel. I love the way she approaches the paranormal. She is a licensed therapist, a mental health counselor. She helps people get over their emotional traumas that happen in the paranormal. So we're going to be talking a lot about this. And if you don't know this lovely lady, then you must have been hiding in a cave somewhere deep, deep, dark in the bowels of this earth, because every time I turn on my YouTube, she's on there, or on Facebook, and she's all over the place, and she's doing some pretty amazing. So right now, guys, I'd like you to welcome my guests for this hour, the lovely Miss Brett Harpp. How you doing?
Hey, Dal. Hey, everybody. Nice to see
Thank
you.
thank you for joining us on the TPV Nation. We're so happy to have you here.
So happy to be here.
So this is exactly why the Paranormal Voices out there is for shows like this and people like you, people who are not supposed to believe in the paranormal. You're supposed to be out there telling us we're all crazy and that we need some we need some serious therapy. But you know what? You're not. You are out there. You're working alongside of us. You yourself, you do investigations yourself,
Yep. True.
and this is this is mind blowing, and I'm so glad that I have this hour with you to pick your brain. And any of my guests on the side, if you have a question for Brett, please type them in the comments, and we will make sure that she sees them and can answer them for you. So I got to start off with the basic question: is what got you involved into the paranormal?
It all happened. I would say it all happened so quickly, but it's also something that I've been interested in literally since childhood, right? But I think in childhood I was more organically interested in like metaphysics, like how long is forever? And where are the edges of the universe? Just basic 6-year-old stuff. Look up at the sky and where does the world end type thing,
Right.
and having like a couple little experiences when I was a kid, and then getting into like being interested in quantum physics, but not being smart enough to actually go into it. So then getting interested in psychology, which really there's so much crossover, and there's a lot of crossover with paranormal too. I guess I just like going into dark places, Dale, whether it's an abandoned building or the human psyche.
That's that is great. I
Dark
mean,
and unknown.
so besides your pure curiosity at a young age, did you have any kind of experiences now that you think back on it that could have
Yes,
possibly been
yes.
a paranormal experience? Because paranormal experiences
Oh,
are broad, and we're going to get into that because I was for the last couple weeks, I've been stalking you on your YouTube channel, watching a lot of your shows, seeing what kind of things you've been talking about, and there's quite a few that just jumped out at me. But I would like to know, like at that young age, was there an experience that just like, hmm,
oh
was
yeah.
it?
Well, as a kid, so I'll bookend it. So as a kid, like a little kid, I did have an experience where when I was climbing into bed and I went to pull the covers up over myself, a perfectly round ball of light in my very dark room with one little nightlight, on the other side, was shot under my covers. And it's interesting because I was a pretty scared little kid a lot of the times. It's like I was aware of something, but I didn't know what was going on. But when things like that would happen, it's almost like the way that I reacted was very telling. So, and I think that's important for everybody to pay attention to. The way that you react to things can be a gauge if this person is not a good person to be around. It could be a gauge if this place is haunted, whatever. It's how
Right.
we react to experiences. And whenever I've had an experience that was like unexplainable, I become very calm and very just like, oh, okay, don't know what that was. And half the time I forget what it was too. That's the other thing.
Right.
So that was at the young age. And then more recently, this whole thing just catapulted when I moved. I'm in private practice. And when I moved into this building, I'm in an office building and I'm in my own office, obviously private practice. And when I moved in here about 5 years ago, I think now, things just started happening in this building that just was like, whoo, something is going on here. And I have clients who are psychic or, sensitive and things like that. And a couple of them saw the exact same thing in the office across the room, in my little office across the room, like behind me, kind of. They both saw the exact same thing. Now, how do you explain that?
Right.
So I'll hear people walking down the stairs and I'll think that my client is here, but like they're not coming through the door. So I kind of like peek around and to see who's there, and nobody's here. And it's a pretty empty building for the most part. Like I'm alone here right now. So
Right.
if you see something
So
behind me, if you see something, say something.
yeah, I was just gonna say, if you see something pop up behind her, please let us all know, or just watch my reaction because I'll probably see it at the same time.
Exactly.
So, I mean, so you've had this interest at a very young age. You've got something that was unexplainable that happened to you.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you couldn't run to mom and dad and say what you saw because then they'll be just like, you've got an overactive imagination.
Right.
Go back to bed. It was nothing, Probably the street light outside shined in your eyes for a second. That's what it was.
Right.
Uh, but, this is the amazing part. I mean, as the older generation, I mean, I know for myself, it's like I had nobody to talk to. And this is why I am very envious of this new generation because they can seem to go to mom and dad and say anything, and we'll be like, that's really cool. Let's talk about this for a second. But so, with all that going on, when did your life switch and you thought, maybe being a therapist to help people
Oh,
was your calling? Because we all have that calling. We have that path that brings us to what we're doing and what we love to do in today's day and age. So how did that shape out for you, and what was it that says, "Yeah, I love helping people, and this is what I want to do." And then we're going to talk how that transitioned into getting you helping us, the paranormal people.
I love that question. I wasn't even thinking about that question, like how I got into being a therapist. I have lived 12 different lives in this lifetime. I've lived on the West Coast. I lived in Canada for a year. I lived in Florida. I grew up in Buffalo, but I was almost born in a log cabin in Northern California. Then I was born in Ashland, Oregon, but then we went back to the log cabin. I've lived all these different lives, and I always go wherever my curiosity calls me to go. I love travel. I love people. And, I was into acting and dance. I was also doing sales and all these things, but I kept going back to like looking at the things that I would read in my free time. Um,
Right.
a lot of spirituality books, a lot of like Be Here Now and Pale Blue Dot, Doors of Perception, things like that, but also a lot of psychology. And so I realized one day that I could actually do what I wanted. You can do what you want for a living for the most part.
Right.
It's like, why am I treating psychology as my hobby
Right.
and then pursuing hobbies as my main career? So then I
Right.
was like, oh, I can actually do psychology as a career. So I didn't even go to grad school until I was 36, I think. So it's never too late. And here
No,
I am.
no,
And it
you never,
did feel
you
called.
never
I appreciate what you
know when your life path is going to change. It could change
said.
several times. I mean, I have two younger boys. They are now young men, but I've always told them, like, you can do whatever you want in life, but try to think about it at a young age so you could, have a lifelong dream at it. But some of us don't find
Exactly.
our passion, or what we truly want to do, until we kind of have to go through phases of life and
Yep.
try different things. Yeah, you might think, oh, I'd love to be a mailman. Now, this is nothing against mailmen. We love you guys. You bring us great packages. But you might try it out for a couple years and go, it's not for me. And I've been through that. I've
Yeah.
done lots of crazy jobs and tried different things in life. But the paranormal has always brought me back, and I've always wanted to do something in the paranormal. And then it's like, just thought about it, then it became like a hobby, then it just became, and then 5 years ago we created the Paranormal Voice, and here we are. And this is what I truly love doing now. And if I could do this for the rest of my life, like Tim Shaw does, I'd be a very happy
I
man.
can. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but
It is a passion, and you have to be passionate about this in order to want to do it, I would think. And I think the same is true for my field too. Like being a psychotherapist is not easy work, certainly. It is all about the lessons on the way. That's absolutely right. And that makes you better at what you do. It makes me better at being able to help people because of the lessons that I learned along the way. But you do have to. So I got into being a therapist because it was a passion, and that's also true for how I got into the paranormal. And for both avenues, it's like I got sucked into it. It's almost like I got chosen in a way, or it
right,
felt like a calling. I like that better as a calling, not chosen, but
right,
calling. And
right,
doors just started opening and things unfolded, and I feel like I'm in the zone. It's like a Zen
right.
activity for me, and the rest is history.
So that leads me to the next question: is, at what point did you say, hey, I can take my love of helping people, therapy, doing this, as well as helping the people in the paranormal, to kind of, because I mean, there are a lot of us out there who have had some pretty traumatic experiences, And you just, like I said, you just can't go to a regular doctor and say, "Oh yeah, by the way," because you'll end up in a nice white jacket in a nice rubber room bouncing against walls, you know. But but here you are, are that you are licensed, you are trained, you have the tools, but here you are helping people who have been affected by paranormal experiences. So
You know,
when did those two pieces come together and say, look, I can really help people to do this in everyday trauma, but now I get to fix the people who have these experiences that nobody else believes that we have.
it's I was already having the conversations with my current clients, not just about the paranormal, but when I would talk to somebody who was presenting for treatment because of trauma, I speak in metaphors a lot, just generally speaking. I'm not very direct, I'm very metaphorical and poetic, but especially with trauma survivors, I speak very metaphorically. And I noticed that I was speaking specifically like trauma is a ghost that haunts us, and you never know when the memory is going to pop up and scare you and take over your whole body and possess you in a way. So I kept hearing myself talk about that over the years. And I'm like, what are you talking? Like, why is this always my go-to and such a specific thing? And then, on the side as a passion, I was doing paranormal investigations or explorations. And so I was like, oh my God, there's something here. I mean, if you look at the definition of paranormal, it refers to events, phenomena, or beings that are inexplicable by conventional scientific methods, falling outside of the range of normal experience or natural law. Like, that's not so different from how we understand the human psyche.
Right.
There's a lot of blurred lines and a lot of gray areas and Venn diagrams and overlaps. And even psychology is based mostly on more on patterns than on uh, hardcore um, being able to repeat something. I can't think of the word
Right.
right now. It's a lot of it is based on patterns.
Yeah, it's like residual. It happens over and over again. Like the same
Yes. Yes.
like a lot of people, like, I try to explain to people, like, they're asking, well, why would a ghost stay in a particular place? Well, if something traumatic happened to them there, they kind of relive it over and over again. Like battlefields are very known for having residual energy because people say, "Oh, I just saw a soldier walk down this road while marching and walking," or you hear gunfire. It's because to them they're still fighting those battles,
Yes.
so it's happening over and
And that
over
is
again.
true of that's true for veterans too. So survivors of battles, that's very true for them. They are very much the ones that are stuck in a residual haunting
Right.
and, flashbacks and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and so in therapy, we move something from a residual haunting in different ways using trauma therapy, EMDR, and things like that into uh, so less of a residual haunting and more of an intelligent haunting, where
Right.
then it's not taking over anymore. And even if you do still like it there, you can still visit, but but the difference is that you can be free then to come and go. Like, so if something's stuck
Yes.
there, it's not free to come and go as it pleases.
Yeah. In some of my talks, when I go out and I talk about the paranormal and my experiences and the stuff that I like, I always say it's my opinion. It's not that it's right, wrong, or indifferent because I don't believe anybody's opinion in the paranormal field is right or wrong because we're just still guessing. We don't actually know. We're not on the other side yet. Once we get the other
Or
side, then
maybe
we
we
can say,
are.
I
Maybe
was
we are on
right.
the other side. Maybe they're the ones that are on the
Yeah.
other side. We're on the other side. Who knows?
And that's where, if you believe in parallel dimensions, come into how
Big fan.
we can be on multiple levels in other dimensions. And uh maybe you would be the person to probably explain this best, is the whole deja vu. Like I've experienced I've done that so many times. It's like I'll be someplace and it's like, why does this feel familiar to me? And some people says it's because you've probably visited here either
Uh-huh.
in a parallel dimension or in a former life type of deal. And this is why the area or places feel familiar or feel like not strange to you.
Yeah. So neurologically, I've heard it explained that it's the eye has trouble focusing or refocusing sometimes, and so it's almost like doing a where it's almost like a camera lens that gets stuck, but it's
Okay,
moving so fast, and it's because the eyes are part of the brain. Which,
right.
did you know that? I didn't even know that for the long I only learned that like 4 years ago, that the eyes literally, when you're in utero, here's your brain, and then it gets squeezed. The eyeballs get like squeezed out. Freaking weird, if you ask me. I did not realize that. But anyways, that's allegedly like that's the scientific, because we always want to
Yeah,
allow for the scientific, of course. Like
right,
magic in science don't have to be opposing it. As a matter of fact, a lot of time there's overlap, and both things can be true. The
right.
eye could be doing its da da da, and you could still have been here before, and you're here, and everything's happening all at once.
Yeah,
And they are
no,
finding that. That's
but that's the interesting, and a lot of us, and I'd like to say like I've been to places, and I like to think that maybe at some point, maybe because I've always wanted to dive down the rabbit hole of past lives and
yeah.
what's the possibility because our bodies are energy, like ghosts, spirits, whatever you want to call them. It's energy. Energy doesn't die. So when we die as the shell, our bodies are done on this earth, the energy has to go somewhere. And I believe that is what creates haunting is energy, not a ghost. But we have some people have to put labels on things and to make it like but that's the way I believe is that it's energy that is haunting a place and that energy still has the intelligence of the former body or bodies that it once belonged to.
And it's still here, and we're just right now in a meat suit walking around, encasing that energy. But right, it's kind of like if a lamp is plugged in and then you yank the cord, or no, if the bulb burns out,
Right.
the power is still going to it. It's just the bulb is burned out, right? Like,
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I want to ask, so spirit communication is very, very important into the paranormal field. And in one of your interview or one of your clips that I came across, you were talking about how do we know if it's a spirit that's communicating with us or if it's an alien that is communicating with us? I mean, this has been brought
mm,
to by my good friend RJ DeRoos because we were talking one day and I said how I had all these amazing EVPs on a recorder stored on a computer. And then he threw it out at me. He goes, how do you know those were all spirits? How do you know if any of them were aliens trying to communicate with you? And I was like, because I never thought of it that way ever before because I was just thinking, well, I'm in a supposed haunted location. So I'm thinking it's spirits, but he was right. And when you talked about this in one of your clips, I was like, yes, it's like, how do we know
yeah,
exactly who we're talking to
totally.
when
It's
we
different
are?
lenses.
Yeah,
We just it's all maybe the same energy. I think that's what I said in there. It's all the same junk. It's all the same material. And it's just, you've got that hat on, she's got that hat on, I've got this hat on, he's got we are looking through it through different lenses. We're going through different doors, but on the other side of the door, we're all jumping out into the same deep space, like the picture behind you. I love that
right.
picture, by the way. That picture is like what, a nebulous or something?
I
It
don't.
looks like an eyeball.
Truly, I don't know. It is my background, and this is my way of saying, boom, the universe is big, and there's a lot of
Yeah.
information out there, and this
Look,
is
but
this
look,
is me feeling zen in this. I
yeah,
love feeling my
beautiful.
zen.
But it
Thank you.
looks like the universe, but it also looks like an eye. And did you ever notice how that overlaps too? Like the veins in our bodies, kind of like sometimes the winter trees with the branches like outlined by the sky look like veins, or, a nebulous or whatever that is looks like the human eye. And it's so interesting how the universe mimics the body, mimics the universe. So we are
Yes.
all connected. And it just depends on your precognitive cognitions, your automatic thoughts, your confirmation bias. If you're going to see an alien, a ghost, a squatch, and it's all maybe this, or are you going to see somebody who is teleporting or whatever that's called?
Yes. Yes. No.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole other things because even over the last, I want to say probably, I think the first time I ever heard about teleportation or time travelers as they're known, like going back to the 50s, there's photos of people holding cell phones before
Oh yeah, I've
cell phones
seen.
were ever a thing. And but there's also there's pictures that are people are wearing more modern clothing compared to the time period they're in. So do I believe that time travel is possible? I never say never because I don't know enough about it, but I also say anything is possible because if I'm thinking about it, I can't be the only person, and there's got
Oh,
to
I
be a
love.
reason for that.
That's really well said. If you're thinking about it, you can't be the only. I know. Who's ever had an original thought? I swear every like good idea I get in the shower or the treadmill, I'm like, let me look that up, and somebody's already done it. So you're absolutely right. Yeah. Yeah, there's no original thoughts left, but there's original ways to do a thought. Like if a thought already exists, there's your unique way, your unique voice or way of singing the same song. Not
Yes.
two singers don't sound the same when they sing the same lyrics. So there.
Well, see that's where I beg to differ because I did work in the music industry for a little while.
Oh, really?
So, but the thing is, it was like at one time everybody had to sound like this band, and that was the bands that were getting signed. Now everybody has to sound, even at one time everybody had to sound like Madonna. So those were the artists that were getting. But but then you have artists that are out there like the Jimi Hendrix of the world, the
Oh yeah.
Princes and the Michael Jacksons. The second their songs start, you know exactly who it is. But there's some
Yep.
bands out there I'm like, I might have a 1 in
You're right.
75 chance of getting this because all sound
They all
alike.
sound the
But
same, but is that them that sounds the same, or is it the production? Is it on the production end that makes it
it's
sound like
more the production side of it
and
because I'm
everything's the
sure their
same?
voices are unique too, but it's like once it
Yeah.
goes through mastering and sound and stuff like that, they play with it and change the vocals because when you see these people live, they sound nothing like they do on their album. Like that's
Yeah,
awfully
that
weird.
too. Right. They don't even sound like themselves. Well, but we digress. But anyways, we're
Yep.
talking about different lenses and everything. And that's
Yep.
another thing that psychology has in common. Like you could come to me with a problem and then you could go to 12 other therapists with the same problem. And we all have our different theoretical orientations and our different lenses that we're going to treat you through. A CBT therapist will talk about your thoughts and your behaviors. A DBT therapist will talk about your feelings. If you're doing EMDR, we talk about your beliefs about yourself. Like those are all different lenses too,
Right.
thoughts,
Right.
feelings, and behaviors. So there's so much over.
Now, now I'm going to ask you. This is probably a pretty broad question, but what are the most common trauma things that happen to us people in the paranormal like things that you have witnessed yourself that people come to you that kind of like very similar to each other, but what is the most common thing that somebody from the paranormal field will come and talk to you about?
I don't know if it's the most common or if it's just the most haunted one, which is somebody who's still living in an active haunting. That's real tricky to get to the bottom of. It's similar to, trying to help someone who's still living with their abuser, for example.
Okay.
We can't exactly go in there and unravel you and dig in the dirt and do EMDR and like deep trauma work when you're just going to go home to the same,
Right.
unsafe surroundings. So that's a trickier one to treat. And one that's interesting is one where that person doesn't know if it's them that's being haunted, if that makes sense. So not just that there is a ghost in my house, but is there one inside of me? That
Right.
one's
And
real
that and an
interesting.
attachment, and I
An
have had
attachment,
one
yeah.
of those.
You've had one of those?
Yes, I did, and it was the most, I could say, insane experience that I've ever had. But as a paranormal investigator, I was like, "Oh wow, this is cool." But then the inside of me was so scared because I do suffer from mental health, and we're going to talk about that in just a few minutes in mental health and the paranormal. But yeah, I brought home an attachment from a location, and it got to a point where I lost sleep, and everything that I did for that whole week, it was like me watching a point of view camera of me living my life. So I was talking, but it was like me watching a video of me talking, and like you see those point of view cameras where you see the person's hand and you know it's them with the camera on their forehead and their what. That was me for an entire week because this attachment was slowly, I say eating away. It's probably not the proper word for it, but it was trying to break me down. And it got to a point where I woke up one day and I messaged a really good friend of mine, somebody who I know that's helped other people with attachments. And it was like I explained to her what I was going through, and I got a message like 30 seconds later, kind of like your doctor when they say, "Call me now." I was like,
Mhm.
"Ooh, this can be good." And that's when she told me, she goes, "Yeah, you got a really nasty attachment. This is how we're going to get it off. I need you." And she ran through all the stuff that I had to do. And after it was all said and done, it was like snapping my fingers. It was like, wow, I was like back in my body. I was feeling, I wasn't having that feeling of watching myself anymore. It was like, wow, I feel myself finally. So
And
yeah, it was a very weird experience. And it was like
yeah, I
something
bet.
I'll never forget because, like I said, it affected me for a long time to a point to even think about that location. I would just I would just, like, freak out.
There it is. You became haunted by literally by your own haunting.
Yep.
And the interesting thing too is that like I do one of the interventions that I love doing with people is based on IFS, which is internal family systems, and we do parts work. So it's looking at you and it's not just that you're just Dale and nothing else, but that there could be a wounded child that's inside of you, or there could be an older, wiser self that's inside of you, or a teenage part, or a helper part, or a mischievous part or something. So it's like instead of just treating you, I'm treating the whole family, internal family systems, the whole family that lives inside of you of parts. But what's interesting when I do that work, sometimes it gets paranormal because some people have. I've noticed two clients who have attachments that it's not them, and there's it's called an interject, like there's a psychological term for
Okay.
it and we know where it comes from, but sometimes, and I was just talking about this with a colleague, another therapist friend who's into this spooky stuff. But it feels like, and you can feel it as a therapist too. It feels like something spiritual, something otherworldly for sure, or not of this world, or not of their
Right.
body, or not of their own psyche. And even the DSM, the Bible of psychology and psychiatry, I was just talking about this with Aaron Taylor on my podcast. The DSM makes room for uh, for for paranormal experiences, for hauntings in a way, their language. It's way at the back of the book. It's on page like 8 or 900, but it's in there. I read the whole thing.
It's close to the closing credits.
Yeah. Exactly. So again, there's so many overlaps, and which makes it totally viable for me to be able to treat and help and not scoff at someone who's had a haunting. There's so many overlaps. Why wouldn't I? So if you're out there and you feel like this is something that you're struggling with, don't be afraid to get help. And don't be afraid for it to be, put through the lens of mental health first. Why not?
Right.
You should want that. You should want to neutralize that first.
No, and absolutely. And this is where we're going to segue into you working with mental health patients. And I would love to get your perspective because I've heard this through other people in the paranormal field, and how, like, people who've been doing this for decades and years, how their mental health comes into effect. Like, parts of us who've been through stuff, it's triggering, but then now we're moving into dealing with our mental health and the depressions and the anxieties and all this other stuff that goes with the mental. Do you find that people who've been down rabbit holes of the paranormal world, doing very intense investigations, like how that really kind of triggers their mental health, I want to say, and finding those triggers?
It could be a case of which came first, though, too. Like, this can be a calling for people who want a hobby to get them out of their own misery, and it's a perfect one to get you out of your own haunting, to go explore abandoned buildings with a group of like-minded folks. What a great hobby to be able to do. It's a little bit of like exposure therapy. There's a beginning and an end to it, which a lot of trauma survivors never had that feeling of, or the feeling of autonomy. I get to leave if I don't want this. So it can be very good. So I think that people who are already struggling with mental health can be drawn to paranormal exploration. And I think it's a good thing too, for a lot of the reasons plus more that I just listed. So many of the people that I know personally, or I've had on my podcast or whatever, have actually their lives have gotten better because of paranormal, myself included. Like, it's such a passion and an interest, and because of the people around you, and we're all lifting each other up, and it's so much fun, and it's good to have an open mind. Curiosity is the opposite of anxiety in the brain. So that's really good for your mental health. But sure, there's people who, seem to keep bumping up to the same, darker energies, I guess, and walking away with just more and more. I think people who have been haunted before, maybe, or trauma begets trauma sometimes, not always by any means, but sometimes. And so why wouldn't that be true in this field as well? But yeah, it's hard to say which came first.
Right. But it seems like, I mean, as nowadays, and a lot of people that know me personally, I'm a huge advocate for mental health and for men in particular to start talking about their mental health, because this is an area where a lot of men, especially the older guys. I mean, today's society is a little bit different, but us men back in the day, it's suck it up, go to work, shrug it off. You're not supposed to cry. You are the man. You don't tell us your feelings. And that's the way a lot of us, unfortunately, guys were raised to be. But I find that, suicides, is because men can't talk. So they think that's the way out. It's unfortunate, but this is case after case, like day after day, like especially coming out of the pandemic. How many people committed suicide because they struggled through the pandemic? So yeah, I've been a very big advocate for the last over a decade now, ever since that myself, I was diagnosed as having it and how to deal with it. And no offense to any doctors out there, and includes you, but like the pills that I was always given, I never liked how they made me feel. So I started digging down rabbit holes to say, okay, I want to learn about what is it that's going on inside me and how can I help myself and not use the medication
Sure.
to do it. And I've been mildly successful in it. Like I do have bad days, don't get me wrong. We all do. But I don't but for the people that the pills help them, God bless you, and I'm
Yeah.
glad stay on them. Keep doing them. Don't take my advice.
Right.
Don't do
Yeah.
what I did.
Yeah.
This what's worked for me, and I tell people that this is what worked for me, and I don't advocate of telling your doctor, no, I don't want pills because those pills might be saving your life, and that's what I
Mhm.
want the most. I want rather talk to you than to carry your casket, as I always tell people. But the mental health side of the paranormal. It's how people can be affected by these negative, dark energies and what it can happen.
It's also intention going in, like, maybe you have it's so important to have a very clear intention of what you want to get out of a situation. It's one of the benefits of doing paranormal investigations is that you get a chance to be very mindful beforehand and drop into your body and say, I want this, whatever outcome this is, to be aligned with my highest good. Anything that you do in the spooky, spiritual, and paranormal realm gives you the chance to really align with yourself and all of your parts, your family system, and including your higher self and your spirit guides or whatever your beliefs are. So use this opportunity before you go into a like you said, Madonna. Remember in Truth or Dare, where they all gathered around and they said the prayer every time before
Yeah.
they went on stage? Do something like that, with your team. It doesn't have to be a prayer. It could be whatever it is. It could be a chanting, incantation. It could be setting an intention. And you're going to have probably a better outcome if you know what you want to get out of a situation. And that's true whether it's a paranormal investigation, this conversation, what you're going to do later tonight, what you're going to do tomorrow. What do you want to get out of your day? Intentions are so important.
No, and I agree with you 100% on that. And I speak that from mountaintops. Like, go into any investigations with the right intention and with the right open mind, because if you go in there with all your troubles, the energy will pick that up and they will use that.
I've heard this.
Yes.
This hasn't happened to me, but I hear this all the time. There's some nasty spirits out there or some darker energy for sure.
Yes, no, and that's just, once again, this is my opinion and this is what I believe in, just through stuff that I've been doing this for close to 2 decades now. I mean, I don't know what life is like not having paranormal experiences because it's been happening at such a young age for me that I
Wow.
don't know life without a paranormal experience. So when people say, "Well, don't you want to be normal?" Well, this is normal for me because I don't even know what normal is.
Yeah.
So if people give me the definition of normal, I'll try to
Love
live it, but it'll be probably the most boringest time of my life because I enjoy my life.
Yeah, exactly. That's what matters. Yes. Yeah, the
So I,
outcome.
I do gotta ask this. So you're on investigations, you're out there, you're in the field, you're doing your thing. Now, has the afterlife ever came to you for help for their traumas to cross over?
Well, you know, Dale, I'm glad you asked that because it's something that I think about doing on investigations. I've only been on a handful of investigations. Um, but I have thought, should I play with that? I haven't ever intentionally done that, but I have thought about playing with that. I haven't collected any evidence or anything like that that was like, I got this problem and I need to talk about it. You know what I mean? Like I've never
Right.
had like an EVP or anything like that say that. I did have at Rolling Hills Asylum all of a sudden through the spirit box, like a German speaking woman come through when we were in the nurse's office who was German, like from Germany. But she wasn't asking for help. She's probably used to giving help. But that was really interesting. But no, I've thought about that too. It's like, can like, can I help on that side? There's no, I don't know
Right.
what the HIPAA laws are in the spirit realm, but I would happily
Uh,
abide by them.
yeah, no, and I mean because like being doing this for as long as I have, and I mean a lot of the investigators who are watching this show today live at this moment, and people that are gonna, you know, we've all had, and I've come from like experience of this. It's like spirits reaching out for help. Okay, well, tell me what you need help with. Like, what is it? Something that I can like? What do you
Yeah,
need help with? And I've just asked that question, and then through the spirit box, I'll get like little communications and try to get the idea, like why are they suffering? A lot of them feel trapped because they're being held there by another spirit. So it's like, okay, well, you are not being held by that spirit. You are free to go. Like, please just leave. But there are times when I've been in places where people have been so abused that I
yeah.
pick all that up and I feel it. And I feel like some places I go, I feel like happy and joy. And I'm like, oh, this is,
Yeah.
other places I just want to break down and cry. Other places, like, I want to strangle the guy standing next to me. And I don't know why I want to strangle him because the energy in the room is making me want to strangle him.
And it's interesting too because like if we can go in with a higher vibration and really raise our vibration and clear our own energy, we're spirits. Like we have spirits inside of us.
Yes.
So maybe that raising our own spirits helps to heal them energetically.
Yeah, no, I just it was
Just
just
be around you.
watching things like watching you, and I'm like, okay, so she helps us, the
Yeah.
living,
I love
the
that.
actual living.
I've
Now I
thought about
wonder if she gets communicated from the other
yeah.
side from people who are also still suffering from trauma that
Well, you
happened
know
to them
what?
while they were alive.
I'm really glad you asked because I wonder if that's what's been happening to me. So to answer an earlier question, like what goes on for me in the paranormal realm. So one of the newest things that's been happening to me as I continue to explore paranormal explorations, but also in sessions with clients, I notice I'm becoming more and more psychic, which I don't always know what to do with because they're not there for me to say your great aunt Linda is here and she would like to talk to you. She would like to, is it okay if can we do some family therapy? So but that's starting to open up to me more and more too. Sometimes I communicate it if it's appropriate. So the new thing that's happening to me is most nights as I'm falling asleep or struggling to fall asleep generally, all of a sudden, and it's almost a guarantee, I see people's faces just walk across the screen in my mind's eye, people that I've never seen before. Welcome to spirit. I know. I think that's what's happening. And I'm like, so one of my friends who's a psychic said, ask them what they want, but I'm asking, and these are people I've never seen before in my life, and they're so specific. And it could be an elderly person, it could be a little
Right,
child, or anything in between. But when
right,
I say, how can I help you, to speak to what we're talking about now, like, how can I help? They
right.
don't say anything yet. It looks almost very two-dimensional still, like I'm talking to a photograph. So I don't know. I guess it's really cool. But to speak to what you're saying, can I help a spirit? I'm trying. They're coming to me. Somebody's coming to me. They're coming to me
Right.
every night.
That's truly amazing. So it just means that as you open yourself up more and you're getting more comfortable with the afterlife and the spirits that are in it, you find, and I mean, I believe we all have gifts. Like, it's just a matter of which gifts you want and how you're going to react to them when you do have them. Because it's like an like something that I tell a crowd of people who come out to listen to me speak, I always say everybody in this room right now can have a paranormal experience, but we will not have the same paranormal experience. We will
Exactly.
have similar because and this once again is my belief and my opinion that the paranormal experience that we have are geared for us to have those experiences. Not everybody can go out and have a ghost experience, an alien experience, a Bigfoot experience. But to those people that do go out there and have them, there's a reason why you're having that experience and why the person beside you is not having that experience. You've probably been in the investigations that you were a part of. Like some people are like, "Did you hear that?" And everybody else is going like, "What are you talking about?"
True.
But to that
Yeah.
person, they just heard a voice in their ears say, "Hey, hi, hello,
Mhm.
like get out." But not everybody else in the room has. But it's like that one person heard it, or that one person heard the footsteps. Like, did anybody hear that knocking? No, but I did. But
Yeah.
but everybody in that room is not having the same experience as what I'm having or you're having, and this is why I think the paranormal is kind of gives us our own unique experiences. So when people come up to me and tell me their story, I say that's fascinating because, for one, that is your experience, and this is how you're interpreting your experience to me. And I love that.
Interpretation. Right, you're learning something about that person too, not just what their
Yes.
experience was, but you're learning about how they interpret their own experience or what it
Right.
was about them that spirit might have been drawn to. Like it's actually telling you more about that person and you could take that any way you want or go wherever you want with that. You sound like you and I are very similar where we just love people. So we'd love to know more about you.
People, it's a love-hate relationships. I love people, but I really love my alone time.
Oh, please.
I
Yes. I love my alone time too much, probably. I've
it's a
loved my way
like
out of a lot of things.
I get out in public and I do my thing and I do this and I'm out at events. Like even in my professional life, I mean, I've got a job where I work in around people. But at the end of the day, it's like, nope, I'm done peopling. I just want nobody around me. I just want to go to
Yeah,
the
oh, yeah,
confines
yeah,
of
yeah,
my
yeah.
safe space and just say,
People
but
too
I love
hard
being
to
out in nature. I love nature. Nature is my Zen place. I will go on a 5-mile hike every day if I
for you.
possibly could because I love being out in nature. That's where I connect. I love walking barefoot. People go, "You're crazy for walking through the woods barefoot." No, this is how I ground myself. This is how I live.
Yes,
This is where I
yes.
feel at peace. But I do love I love hearing stories. I love talking to people when I'm at events. I love it when people are comfortable enough to tell me their most traumatic experience
You know,
because it's their experience.
exactly. See, we have that in common for sure. Um, the other thing I was gonna say really quick is the only time and I just am remembering this in real time, I can't believe I forgot. Paranormal amnesia is a thing where I think Bridget Marquardt calls it that, paranormal amnesia, where it's like somebody could ask you something and you totally forgot. Like I just remembered just now, the only time I've ever heard a voice was in Northern California in the Jedediah Smith State Forest, which is where they filmed the Ewok scene in Star Wars, if you know, you know. And
I'm so
big,
jealous. I'm a big
beautiful
Star Wars
red.
fan.
Yeah, me too. It's a redwood forest, as
Yeah.
many of them are out there. And as soon as I walked in there, I heard a voice. It's always in another language, right? Like here at my spirit box German. Now in the forest, I heard another language and I still remember it, even though I forgot the experience. And I still remember it. And I don't know what language it is. Maybe somebody will know. It sounds Native American, Om Tiki Tagua. I'll never forget. It was like right in my ear. Like I jumped and I thought somebody was there.
Wow.
Nobody was there. So now what do you do with that if they're speaking to you in another language?
Find an interpreter. No,
I
no, but
know.
that's the thing, though.
Totally.
See, and I can tell you a really interesting experience that I had investigating with Tim Shaw. We were in we were in Ohio State Reformatory, OSR. We were in this room that they call the chair room. And so when we first all walk in, there was 2, 4, 6, including Tim, there would be 7 people in this room, but there was one chair in the middle. So Tim says when he walked through the door, something kept telling him to sit in the chair. So he thought it was one of us telling him to sit in the chair. And he sat in the chair, and as soon as he sat down, so it was facing the doorway. And he says that once he sat down, he saw a shadow standing in the door. So he kept calling to it and calling to it. And I had my thermal imager on him. And I could see like this, I describe it as a blob underneath his chair. Well, then all of a sudden, I'm going to speed up the story a little bit. But so after a few minutes, like Tim's head comes down. So we're like just going, okay. I can see this massive thing growing behind him. It was blocking out the investigators that were sitting behind him. Then all of a sudden, Tim got up and he was talking in a totally different voice. Like to talk to Tim Shaw, he's got a deep voice, but
Yeah.
this was deeper than that. And it was in a language that I didn't understand.
See?
He doesn't remember it. And then it was like his head went back down and it was gone. And he said that's right. Gypsy guy said it was channeling. He channeled this person, and it was crazy to watch. But it was an experience. It's an incredible experience. But Tim was telling him, no, we're not doing this today. I'm not here to do this today. But the guy went ahead and did it anyways and jumped into Tim's body and then spoke.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
No, I don't like that because it's, everybody should adhere to everyone's boundaries, including spirit. So, if a spirit's not respecting a boundary, that's not a good thing, I would think.
Well, anybody who knows OSR, it is a prison. They don't respect anybody's boundaries because obviously they wouldn't be in prison, right? That's even if it was a prisoner. We don't even know if it was a prisoner. It could have been somebody who worked there or just somebody who was a helper there. But that was when you say foreign voices, like we hear it, it's like, okay, I don't even know if any of our recorders were working, but it was like the craziest thing I've ever experienced. And with Tim Shaw, that was like, wow, that was like mind blowing. Should ask him about it sometime. It was crazy.
I'm actually going to have him on my podcast, so I'll have to ask him.
So we're just about out of time. I can't believe how fast this hour went.
My God.
I'm definitely going to have to get you back. We're going to have to talk some more.
Yeah.
So I want to give this last few minutes to you to promote yourself, where people can find your podcast, where you're going to be talking. If people want to reach out to you because they're experiencing something, I want people to be able to reach out to you to get the help that they want or just to be able to connect with you.
Yeah. So I'm basically haunted therapist all over social media. Facebook, I'm Brett Harpp, the haunted therapist. But Instagram, TikTok is haunted therapist. And YouTube is the haunted therapist podcast. Same with Spotify. If you live and reside in New York State, you can reach out to me for psychotherapy. I'm licensed in New York State, so that's where somebody can be my client for therapy. And so reach out those ways.
There we go. That's amazing. Brett, I just want to thank you so much once again for coming on the TPV Nation, talking to us, getting your perspective as a registered therapist and how our minds work and helping people that have suffered paranormal trauma, because it is real, folks. It's not a thing we make up in our head. Trust us. If I was going to make something else, I'd be a rich guy by now.
Yeah, exactly.
But here I am. I'm just a podcaster getting to talk to amazing guests like Brett Harp. So anybody reach out to Brett,
Thank you.
follow her on her podcasts, and follow her on all her social medias. And that's going to do it for us here at the Paranormal Voice. I thank everybody from day one to day now. I truly appreciate you guys. I'm going to be back next week with a guest that I have been wanting to talk to. I've got the OG himself, John Zaffis, coming our way next Sunday night at 8 p.m. So tune in. We are going to talk to the haunted collector himself and pick his brain a little bit about hauntings and haunted dolls and how owning a haunted doll and all this crazy stuff. So, guys, tune in next week. John Zaffis is going to be on the show. In the meantime and in between time, we always like to say is happy hauntings.
Bye, guys.